What do I do with what I have, with where I am? And I'll share my own too. So yesterday I attended a webinar, and the webinar was to teach you how to find your ideal clients organically. And it was this beautiful framework that you're supposed to follow to gain your clients. You ladies know one of the goals that I had for this year was to get my group coaching to be to a place where I'm impacting a lot of women at the same time. So 10 people on a group coaching call, that would be ideal for me. So I attended this webinar and they were speaking to me. When I talk about, they were listing all my pain points, listing all my frustrations. It's like, I'm like, yes, they get me, they understand. So they beautifully outlined all the what's, like, what are the issues? What are the challenges? What is it that people are going through? And then they shared a framework that had decent content, but it wasn't like something that you could go and implement. It wasn't like a practical application. It was just like this broad, vague framework. And then at the end, they were like, obviously it was like an upsell. So if you need more assistance and you can work with me, but I'm like, I was expecting at least a small win, or at least something that they would give you where you, after attending this webinar, they would say, all right, so, the first step is do X, Y, Z. And then if you want more support, then work with us. But it just really ended with the what, and not the how. And I just started to feel frustrated, not because I felt overwhelmed, but more because I didn't have a strategy. So it's like I had all this information. I'm like, you could do Facebook ads, you could do this, you could do that. And I'm like, I just need a process, a workflow, a strategy that's like A to Z, and then you get the results. Not try this for 2 seconds, try that, and just like jumping all over the place. So I started to feel frustrated there. And what I really heard God saying was, use what you have and start with where you are. And the use what you have is, for me, I have certain workbooks that I haven't officially implemented. Like I've read through them, I've made highlights, I've wrote things that I need to do, but I haven't actually implemented the knowledge that I've learned. And then the other part too is that I'm supposed to be onboarding a team of people who are supposed to help me to get like my funnels in place and all these things. But I feel like I kept waiting for them to start, because it makes sense for me to just onboard everyone at the same time instead of like interviewing, doing this, and then, like doing this process over and over. So I'm like, all right, let me wait to get my team and then we'll all do it together. But what I realized on the back end was that procrastination and that hesitation was actually fear. It was, can I really do this? Can I really put all the tools together and then get the outcome that I desire? So I'm sharing this with you because I understand what you're going through when you're like, I just feel stuck. I don't know what to do. What is next? Or I have so much information. What do I do? Like I have all these goals that I'm trying to meet. Which one do I prioritize? And then the devotional that I shared with you ladies today, it's called Fasting from Wrong Thinking. And I just started doing the first one. And it talked about I can't. And I can't is not something you typically hear me say. Like I'm all can do mentality. Yes, I got this. I'll figure it out. That has always been my mentality. I rarely say I can't do something. So it was talking about I can't change. And in my head, I'm like, all right, let me read through whatever. This is not really something I'm struggling with, but let me read through. And then 3 things came up that in the back of my head, I was telling myself that I can't. In the forefront, I was just like, I'm figuring it out. I'm developing strategy. But what I realized is there was a lot of activity towards that goal, but it wasn't a strategic plan. It was just, let me do this one thing to make it look like I'm working on it. Let me do, throw some money over here. Let me throw some time over here, some effort over here, but it wasn't a strategic plan. And those 3 things are, one, what I just shared about the growing the business to have more clients. The second one was as it relates to my kids. For the summer, one of my goals is to not only get them to grade level, because I don't know what happened with COVID, but I just need to make sure that they learn everything that they should have, but also advance them. I want them to be above grade level. So by the time they start school in September, they're not catching up, they're not struggling, they're not confused, they're above already. And I was like, can I really teach my kids? In my head, I'm like, okay, I can do it. Put the little curriculum together. But then I kept reaching out to learning centers like, hey, what are your prices for this? Because I think I wasn't confident in my own efforts. And then the third thing is something that we've talked about several times was, can I really get out of this eating rut? So when Arella started talking about, I start this, but I don't finish, I lose 20 pounds, but then I gain it back, or I don't lose anything, or I'm doing all this stuff and I'm not seeing the fruit or the benefits, I understand completely, because I've been on this weight fluctuation and this cycle for a long time. Like there are times when, I think it was last June that I was down 30 pounds. And then here we are a year later where I'm like still going back to, okay, let me eliminate the gluten, let me eliminate the dairy. But Arelis and Lisa, there is a way out and there is light at the end of the tunnel. And it really just has to do with starting with where we are. Like I think sometimes we're so focused on the end result, and because it looks so far, it becomes frustrating or it becomes overwhelming. But what can you do today to get to the very next thing that's going to propel you forward? Not a bunch of activity, not, oh, let me go buy my exercise clothes. Let me look up this workshop. Let me find a YouTube video, but real activity that's going to generate beneficial outcomes.